Hi there, my name's Aaron Short and welcome to my YouTube channel, and today I'm talking about acoustic guitar demos on YouTube. Can they be trusted? So we all like to watch YouTube for demos and reviews of gear. I especially like to watch acoustic guitar reviews and demos, but have you ever considered how they are made and how accurate they actually are? If you think about it, when someone else is demoing a guitar for you, and this includes myself of course, they use a certain pick, they play a certain way, they're sitting in a certain room, and a room can really affect the sound of a recording. They're using a microphone. What kind of microphone is it? There's hundreds of different microphones, thousands. Is that then plugged into outboard gear like compressors and external EQs? What does it go into next? Does it go into a $100 interface? Or a $10,000 interface? What software do they record with? Do they add post-processing like EQs and compressors on the other end? And do they add reverb and delays? There's so many variables that could be involved. And today we're just going to look at a couple of them to see if it actually makes a difference. Well, I think we all know it will make a difference, but how much of a difference will it make? So for my first test, I'm going to record the acoustic guitar behind me, the Martin HDC 28E, and I'm going to use 4 different microphones. 4 of what I would say are the most popular mics that are used in YouTube videos. First of all, the trusty iPhone. We've all been to the local guitar store and recorded our guitars there, or potential guitars that we're going to buy, to hear what they sound like. There's nothing wrong with this. The mic in the iPhone is great because you always have it with you, and if you get it close to the source, it's a very usable microphone. It can sound really, really good. How accurate is it compared to other mics? Well, we'll find out today. Next up, I've got my amazing Tascam Portacapture X8 that I love. Talk about this all the time. It's a handheld recorder. It's got stereo mics on it. It's got unlimited headroom. You can't clip it. It's got multiple inputs, but today I'm just going to use the stereo microphones in the recorder itself. The third microphone is a Neumann KM184. This is a small diaphragm condenser mic. This is used by a lot of YouTube channels. Sometimes they use 2 of them, but this is a classic mic and I've used it on many of my videos. Last but no way least, the Neumann U87 AI, the most expensive microphone, the biggest microphone. This is a large diaphragm condenser microphone and a classic mic. Not always used on acoustic guitar, but we'll try it today to see how it sounds. So I'm going to play these recordings back to back, and when I come back, I'll tell you what I think of the sounds. Please do me a massive favor, subscribe and ring the bell if you haven't, and leave your thoughts on all the sounds you hear today in the comments below. Here we go. All right, so what did you think? Sure enough, the iPhone mic, while decent, does sound the most kind of harsh. It lacks low end, it lacks warmth. If you're using that to compare different guitars, I think that's cool, but it doesn't really capture the sound of a acoustic guitar the way I want it to. It doesn't capture the detail that I'm looking for. Next up, the Porta capture. Kind of the next most expensive. Actually, it's cheaper than an iPhone, but you know what I mean, component-wise. The Porta capture, I think, is excellent. I've been using it for a while. I'm always raving about it, and it hasn't disappointed here. It sounds really natural, really impressive. But let's compare that to the other mics, the real mics, if you like. The Neumann KM184, the small diaphragm condenser, actually sounds really boomy to me. Now, for full disclosure, I did place all the mics in the same area, but that mic is slightly more towards the sound hole. And the sound hole of an acoustic guitar is where all the low end comes out of. So that may be the reason. It may be a variable in my experiment today. For this video, I didn't record the guitar 4 different times. I put the mics as close as I could and recorded the guitar once to keep it consistent. So in conclusion, I assumed that the large diaphragm, the 87 AI, would be too boomy and muddy, and I would love the KM184 the most. But actually, I really like the large diaphragm condenser. I'll be using that more in the future. I've used it before, but that was my favorite today. Closely followed by the handheld Tascam Porta Capture X8. I think that sounds the closest to that really expensive microphone, which really impresses me and makes me very happy because I can continue to take that out on the road, on location, and use that at home to get very high quality recordings of guitars. It's also the only stereo mic that we use today. So I do feel they all sound quite different, some more so than others, but it's been very interesting to me to hear the 87 AI, how much I like it, and the Porta Capture, how close that is to the 87 AI. So I found that really interesting. What did you think of those recordings? Please let me know in the comments below. All right, the second half of this video is mic position. Based on what I just said about where the mic is can really affect the sound, let's try 3 radically different positions with one mic and see how that affects the sound. Obviously it will. I think we know that is the case, but let's hear it for ourselves, just to remind ourselves. So what did you think of that? Well, as I suspected, when the mic was near the sound hole, a lot of low end. When it was down at the headstock pointing towards the sound hole, because it was so far away, it lost a lot of low end. As I would expect, it sounded clearer. And then when it was down pointing up from the lower bout towards the sound hole, that still sounded pretty warm, but it had a bit less of that boom. The sound hole, like I said before, is where all the bass and boom comes from. So what that tells me is if you want to make a guitar with not much low end sound big and full in a recording, you could just point it more towards the sound hole. And this is the point of today's video. All these mics and all these mic positions have made a difference in my opinion. And I guess this is just something we need to know going forward. There's always going to be these variables. Even with an electric guitar, if you listen to an electric amp and that's mic'd up, same thing. Slight changes in mic position can make a huge difference to what you hear. The only way YouTube videos could really show you what your gear is going to sound like when you buy it is if the person had the same room as you, the same mic as you, the same headphones as you, didn't do any post-processing, played the way you play, basically doing it yourself. Same with electric guitar. Now we have these modelers and pedals. It's good because we can just use the same preset as the other person. Even then, the way you play and the type of guitar you're playing, even then there's variables, but what you're doing is eliminating the variables. But of course, this is really difficult on YouTube because we can't all own the same pick, the same guitar, the same speakers. You know, we all have very different rigs. So it's just something to bear in mind and be aware of. If you see someone using a mic and it's aimed at the sound hole, assume that that's adding more bass. If you hear any kind of reverb and delays, remember that that's adding to the size of that sound, and it's not just the thing itself. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do this stuff, because maybe we want to hear that, because when we record these things, when we buy them and record our albums, we're going to do that processing. No one records a guitar and releases that as a single. Everyone processes the sound. That's what you should do. But my point is, when you're buying something, when you're researching a guitar, of course, the best way is to go and play that guitar yourself, or play it in your room, test it with your gear, record it with your gear, and listen back and make your own decision. But we all want to use YouTube videos. I love making YouTube demos and videos, but just bear all these factors in mind next time you're watching a review of a guitar or an amp or anything that's using a microphone. Bear in mind what the variables could be. So thanks for watching. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. What are your experiences? What did you think of the sound today? What was your favorite sound that I recorded today? And if you're new here, subscribe and ring the bell. I'll see you soon in another video. Take care and be well. Bye-bye.